Talk to him.
All right, y'all, so we back. And we want to talk plants today. So with the rising cost of eggs and the supposed food shortages, y'all hoes better learn how to make some shit grow other than dick, okay? So we talking horticulture, floriculture, with Colah B talking on We Talk Back today.
Hey. Thank you for having me. This is very exciting. We are doing a podcast. I'm excited to be here.
Little backstory, guys. So we were in Memphis for St. Jude's, right?
Yep.
And we met Colah getting lunch. She was late and we was late, so we were eating late and we got to talking and she let us know that you do Girl in the Garden?
Black in the Garden.
Black in the Garden podcast. Sorry about that.
No worries.
And they got to talking, AJ and her got to talking about their plant life because they are into that way more than I am. Like, I suck at keeping anything alive.
I got
Except
one
for
plant.
myself.
We'll get you some help with that. You gotta get your green thumb activated. That's what I say. You gotta activate that thing, but we all have it, yeah.
Talk to us about how you got started, though.
Sure, so how I got started, well, I was born black, so that's the first part of it. Black in the garden, you know? And then I feel like I've always, as far as I can remember, had an appreciation for nature and just, you know, being outside, stuff like that. But I wasn't really raised in a garden. I just like being outside. But as I got into adulthood and I was trying to figure out, how do I be a good citizen? Should I be consuming as much artificial ingredients? And, you know, I had just had a baby. I had like a natural birth with my 10-year-old daughter. And so that was awesome. But I was just leaning into more and more ways to get more natural with my lifestyle. Like, I had went natural many years before, like pretty much started in college, like most of us do. And in doing that, and I remember getting convicted. I was like, yo, what would it look like if I'm as hyper-local as possible with the way that I consume my food? So that led me to say, maybe I'll try growing some food. Let's see how that goes.
Right.
But I went about it intuitively rather than going out and seeking some actual information. You know, I didn't even consult with Auntie Google, and I suffered for that because it was pretty much a flop. Like, I remember it was some cucumbers or something, and I was like, boom, got the seeds, bet I'm just gonna sprinkle them out here in the grass. I was renting a house at the time, and well, I cleared up some dirt, and I said, okay, I could do this, boom. Sprinkled the seeds, watered it, walked away for, I don't know, a week or two, and I just came back to like nothing. And so I was like, damn, I fucked it up. But it turns out that that was a lesson. And so going from that, like you said, when you fail, we were talking about this earlier. When you fail, then it kind of sets you back. You feel like, maybe I'm not good at this. Maybe I shouldn't do this. But I just went to the store and I went to, you know, Walmart or whatever, clearance section, because I really didn't have much money. And we can touch on this later, but gardening is a hobby or habit, depending on how bad you got it. It can be expensive. I didn't really have it like that. I just had maybe $10, $20 for the week to put into that thing. So I went to the clearance, got me some little clearance plants, saw what I could do with that, and accidentally I ended up doing what I didn't know at the time. The term is propagating. A piece of a plant fell on the ground in the mud, and then I noticed that some roots had taken, you know, it started to like regrow into another plant. I was like, what's this? What? Am I a gardener now? And it turns out I was. And then I started getting house plants, and that, anybody who can relate, especially from excuse me, what I call the plant-demic, when everybody was getting plants when we were stuck in the house. Anybody who did that can relate to how I found myself having, I don't know, 1 or 2 house plants, looked around a few weeks later, house full of plants, like, yo, okay, well, this is nice, it's a jungle now. But it was the house plants that really helped me to like, feel like, okay, you can do this, because I'm watching them grow. But I got a bunch of them because as I'm looking, I started collecting them quickly because I wanted to engage with the plants, but they just really sit still most of the time. So I'm like, it's not enough going on.
Which ones did you get though? Like, which house plants did you get? Because I bought a money plant, and then that bitch died immediately.
You know,
and then I also
money,
didn't get
though.
the PPP right after that.
What? You
My plant died, and then the PPP was like, nah, you.
Wow.
And I think those two was
You
correlated.
think there was a connection there?
Yeah.
Wow.
So which plants did you get?
I don't specifically remember. Okay, so I know the first plant that I remember bringing into the house, because it was around the time where I had just moved into another location, and it was, the proper name for the plant is Aglaonema, but it's the plant that you see in the mall all the time. It's like a Chinese evergreen is the common name for it.
Okay.
And so I remember getting that. It was big and it was bushy. I really liked it, and I don't remember killing it, but I've killed a lot of plants. I feel like any gardener who is proud of the fact that they never killed a plant, it's all cap. They're lying. They're lying. You got to kill plants in order for you to be successful. Yeah, you got to learn.
She said give it 2 ice cubes a week. That's what I did.
The ice cubes, really?
That's what
My
it
plan
said.
said something totally different. It's like water every 6 weeks. Every 3 weeks,
Every plant is
6 ounces
different.
of water is what it was.
But what
for the
plant
money
are you
plant.
talking about?
It's the money
The
plant.
money
I got
tree.
mine. It's still alive like a year later.
I can't say that I
My
really...
shit died within like 30 days. It was over.
It might have been about 6 months.
Y'all
but
forgive
he's
me
still
because
alive.
I refer to plants like they're people sometimes, but I don't know her like that. I ain't never had no money.
Money
plant.
tree?
Money tree, yeah. I haven't had a money tree. That because
It's like the branches kind of like braid itself.
I know
kinda.
which one you're talking about. Like when I tell you I was crazy about the houseplants, I started getting into, as I wanted to learn how to identify them. I was living in Florida at the time, and I wasn't really sure what it was. I just knew what I was drawn to. I like the plants with big leaves, you know, that big leaf energy. It's exciting to me. It gives the home a jungle type of feel. And so the money plant, because it's got those little bitch ass leaves, I'm like, not so much.
So you said big leaf energy. Is there a plant I could get to have big dick energy in my house?
See
Like,
now,
is there like a
that's not
plant
where I
that
thought
like
she was gonna go?
Is there a plant like that like builds testosterone and all that kind of like you just inhaling and like pheromones and shit running around
I
the
feel
house?
like, I feel like most plants in general, just because of the fact that they help to increase the oxygen levels in the house, that can naturally help with the erections at the very least, if that's what your concern
Boost the
is.
endorphins.
Yeah, the endorphins, you know, it can
Make
really
you happy.
It could give you kind of like a Adam and Eve kind of like, you know, like a role playing kind of vibe, because you kind of pretending like you in the jungle, you know what I'm saying? Bust out the loincloths.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay,
Like,
I
so
see where
set it
you're going
up.
with
You see-
that.
Okay. Something like that.
But you need a lot of plants for that. Like I couldn't just get one snake plant and then
You
be
could-
Adam and Eve.
You can finesse it. I'd say maybe about at least 4 or 5. You know, you want to kind of put them around the bed or something
They're
like that.
expensive though.
They can get expensive. You just got to know where to go. I'll tell you about my plug.
Okay. Because like one plant I found was like $90, $100 for like one.
The larger plants.
Yeah, it was a larger plant.
Yeah, so that's just, you know, I call it a beginner tip. If you're looking for a plant that is a bit more affordable, and like I said, I was broke when I got started, so I was looking for the cheap plants. First and foremost, go to the clearance. If you feel like you might have the ability to rehabilitate one that, you know, look a little sad, then that's for you. But the smaller plants are less expensive, as you can imagine, because they've invested less time in growing it. But you got a big old, you know, 7-foot money tree, like a fully mature one, then yeah, it's gonna cost a little bit more. But I'll also be fully transparent, because I don't think I really shared this on Black in the Garden podcast. But when I first got started, I operated kind of like a booster for my own interest.
Oh, you was
and I'm gonna tell
stealing.
you how.
Let me tell you something.
No, dead
when
ass.
you said you got convicted, I thought you was about to tell us you went to jail.
God. No, not yet.
Like
not
you-
yet.
hold on,
They-
'cause niggas in jails have gardens, right?
Pieces of plants.
Maybe, allegedly. I mean, that's
Look,
my
my mom would be
business.
doing that shit.
If it's on the floor, you know, that's a controversy that is in the community. Of my soil cousins is what I call my fellow plant enthusiasts. But no, for real, like when I used to have, I don't know, I would be like, I only got $30 this week, but I want that one, and that bitch is $25. So here's what we're gonna do. big old plant. It's got a lot of stems and stuff in it. So I would purchase, I would take it home, I would take out a few little pieces and make my own new little plant, and I would take her back with the receipt, okay?
I feel like we're gonna catch a charge.
We're not.
teach them how to steal. Don't do that, 'cause-
That's before I got saved. I don't do that no more. Yes.
So look, do you think gardening you said is more expensive, or do you think
It
it's more
can be.
expensive than buying food at the grocery store?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say that. So buying food at the grocery store, I mean.
Right now.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, put it in context. Growing your own food, it certainly can be less expensive, because consider how much you would pay for the ingredients for a salad, which could add up to, I don't know, let's say
$30.
wow, okay, y'all shop at Whole
If it
Foods.
goes- yeah.
Okay.
Whole paycheck. Yep.
Whole paycheck. So you could spend, let's say on average, about $20 on your salad supplies, or you could spend maybe $6 on 4 packs of seeds between lettuce, maybe some tomatoes, you know what I'm saying, some cucumber. And so you've spent less on that seed investment, but I'm gonna be real about the time investment.
Yeah, about to say,
Right.
how many months I gotta wait for a salad?
It's
though?
not like you just get it right away, but once again, another hack, a beginner hack, or even just a quick food hack. I call the microgreens the fast food of growing food, okay? As in, you can grow microgreens very cheaply and quickly in about 2 weeks.
What's a microgreen?
Microgreens is like the baby version of like spinach, lettuce, whatever. That's like when it first sprouts.
Okay.
Are you familiar with like the plant life cycle? Everybody at least planted a bean or something in 3rd grade in
Lima
doing
beans.
that, yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
doing lima beans.
Right.
Like in a
and
milk
water.
carton when you were a kid?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that first little sprout that comes up, what happens with microgreens is like basically you take a handful of seeds and you spread it like kind of thickly across the soil surface, and then within about a week or 2, you'll start to see all these little sprouts that have come up. You've seen microgreens before at the store, but that's the process. And it's a quick turnaround. It's a hustle for those who are, you know, entrepreneurial enough to be like, hey, I got a little bit of space, because it doesn't take a lot of space. And, you know, you can grow them cheaply, inexpensively, and that's a cool way to have some quick vegetables. And they're also pretty healthy because they are good for gut health. You know, do a little research, do a little Googling, and you'll see. So that's my pro tip hack. It can take some time, but there's ways around that. And mushrooms, I also recommend. I know they
Shrooms.
might seem like they're into not
Oh,
shrooms.
yes.
Shrooms.
How
I don't know about
How
that.
can we grow our own shrooms?
Yeah,
I don't know about
and-
the magic ones, but I know about the tasty ones. And they
What's the
only take
difference? They
about,
should grow the same way, right?
They probably do, but I haven't researched that. Now, I have researched like growing marijuana. You know
Okay,
what I'm
I was
saying?
about to get into that.
Okay, yeah, well, we can get into that. That's on my bucket list. I have like a gardening bucket list. So there's certain things like a 12-foot tall sunflower that I would love to be able to grow in my lifetime. I haven't quite done that yet. But marijuana is one of them.
Would the climate here be right for a sunflower to grow that tall?
It can, yeah, I've seen them. Like, we're not too far from Riverdale.
No, we in Atlanta.
Yeah, we in
85
Atlanta,
South
by the
Studio.
way.
Shout out to them.
Shout out to ATL.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've seen, not too far from here, I've seen sunflowers like walking down the street or driving down the street over the tall fence. I could see them like well over the fence. So it's possible, just you have to do it in season. And fun fact, somewhere around north of here, I believe there is a sunflower field.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So that's like something, of course the sunflowers only come in at a certain time of the year, but I'm thinking, because my term for myself as like one who appreciates the business and the entrepreneurial aspects of ways to make money growing plants, I think about something like a sunflower field as something I would like to be able to grow. So I can, A, have people come through and be like, ooh, we want to take pictures out here. You know, everybody loves
Right.
having a grabbable moment. And so these are the kind of things that I think about in that sense. And that's something that I'm grateful to be able to share with y'all on y'all platform like this, because in the conversation that Black people are having about all the things that we talk about, we're not talking about this enough. And there's a lot
Right.
of bags around horticulture and agriculture and stuff like that.
Yeah, you put
that we've been
a weed field next to that sunflower field.
a
you gonna
wheat
be
field
crazy.
next to the sunflower field. You know what I'm saying? And then the other part with the sunflower field, after you're done taking the pictures and everybody's come through and had their moment, we cut the sunflowers down and we can sell them hoes. Just like that. You know what I'm saying? And we're making money out here. People pay good money for 6 sunflowers. You see them at the store, you see them at Trader Joe's and them.
So let me ask you this. I saw that on your Instagram page, you had like a connection with blackness in gardening. And like you had some pictures of some people from like the early 1900s and things like that.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about that?
Absolutely. So that is my Botanical Black History series. And that series, it started with my first year with Black in the Garden was 2019. In November is when I started. And so by February of 2020, I was just like, cool, first Black History Month, doing this very Black horticultural show. So where's the Black history in relation to people that have been, you know, really dope at growing plants or just anything related to horticulture or agriculture? Of course, the first one to come to mind for most of us is George Washington Carver.
Okay, Peanuts.
I call him the GOAT, yes, the GOAT of botany because he truly is. But there was 2 things that happened. One, I learned so much more about George Washington Carver in the process of researching for that series. Stuff that I didn't know, stuff that I had to share because I'm like, we don't know enough about him. Like, he was an artist. He was actually, in his later days, friends with Henry Ford. Henry Ford, like Ford car,
motors,
built an elevator in his house because he was sick and he was in a wheelchair and he couldn't move around like he needed to. They were friends like that. And the other things that I was learning about just botanical Black history in general was like, wow, it was so deep with me wanting to get that information and not being able to find it on Google. I had to go to the library. That's how deep it was. And I was just like, wow, there's not enough of this part of our history that's being shared, but there's so much to explore and I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, because I think that goes into like land ownership, which we're losing. Okay, so we don't even have the space to grow. I found this article online. It's a brief history of America's Black farmers from the past and present. So it says in 2020, 24% of Black individuals experienced food insecurity, which was more than 3 times the rate of white households. The Black community consistently faces high rates of hunger due to social, economic, and environmental challenges. So to address the high rates, a lot of people are now like getting into growing their own food because once you get that stuff going, you can feed your community.
Absolutely.
Right.
But that's something that just wasn't passed down, you know, from generations, how to grow food, how to do preservatives and shit like that.
My grandmother used to have like a cabinet full of preserves like that she made. And I hate that I never took the time to learn how to do it. But she did leave behind a recipe book with all that information in.
Girl,
so maybe I will get to it
right there.
and learn how to do that. I mean, I'm talking about a closet you open up and it would be covered with peaches and apples and pears and just all of that stuff. And it would be so syrupy sweet though, goodness. Like that's
you
normal.
preserve it with the sugar. Yeah, absolutely. That, I mean, when you consider the fact that historically we have not had refrigeration for in the history of humans, we've not had refrigeration for longer than we have. And we've been eating and surviving and thriving, you know, and so as we figured out how to make the crops last longer or last through the winter, then that was a part of what we had to do. But I love how you not only mention your grandmother, but what you mentioned as well about how we're not doing that on the scale that we used to. It's not as important as us. What I've recognized is even recently is it seems like there's a lost generation. And I feel like it's kind of our generation, unfortunately.
Baby, let me tell you something. My grandmother used to take me out there in that field, because I'm from South Carolina, y'all, so we be in the country, and had us picking peas and shelling peas and bugs and shit. And I remember we was in the garden, in the field, and she was picking something, and something bit her on her leg, and she slapped it, and it was blood pouring from her leg. And I said, baby, I'm going back in the car. And I got in the car, and the windows was up. She wouldn't let the windows down for me, and I sat in that car and almost died.
Oh my God.
Not trying to be out there in that field. That shit different.
It is, wow.
So
you said a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot. As a little girl, seeing all that blood pour from her leg, and she just slapped it like it wasn't nothing.
Yeah.
But my grandmother was raised in that environment. Like I've seen her take down a hog. Chase a hog down and take it down. Yeah, I wasn't with that shit.
She had a dress on.
Yeah, like a country ass dress, running down a hog and take it down.
Yeah.
And cut his throat.
That's so badass to me, though. Like,
that is badass. That. Look, I used to think it was like disgusting when I was a kid, but now as a woman, I wish I knew how to do that stuff.
Yeah. You just made me think about Harriet Tubman. One of the things that many people don't know about her legacy, apart from, freedom in the Underground Railroad, is that she was an herbalist. She was a master herbalist. She had to be, to the point where she would use certain herbs and tinctures, even and especially she had to use something to quiet the babies on the Underground Railroad. Because you can imagine, babies start crying, we fucked up.
So melatonin, it was the first melatonin.
Pretty much, yes. The first Black History fact, Harriet Tubman, the first person to give a baby melatonin.
To drug the fucking baby, and here we are today.
Now y'all using it so y'all can party, so your baby can go to sleep.
For freedom. Yes, that
Harriet was doing it for freedom.
That's right, that's right, yeah.
That makes more sense though, right?
Stupid. Yeah, that's what it's all about. Yeah. So I cannot say this enough. It's just so exciting to be on here talking with y'all, because I love y'all show.
Oh, thank you, girl.
I love y'all show. And getting to talk about what I talk about, just what I feel like is in a vacuum sometimes, because podcasting sometimes feels a little isolated.
Right.
And to be able to share this with y'all in this way, it's very fun and exciting. And it matches the vibe of what I create on the Black in the Garden podcast, because what I noticed before I got started and I saw this is the audience that's not being served, is I noticed that when it comes to conversations about plants and horticulture and gardening, it's real dry, and it's very much like the stereotypical image of gardener is like old and white.
Right.
And I'm like,
farmers.
Yeah, and farmers. And I'm like, no, we out here. When I first started, that's right. When I first started outside, like the outdoor aspect of growing stuff, I was in Florida. I knew that the gardening bug had bit me, not the bug that you was talking about with your grandma, but I knew that I didn't want to do anything else, because I remember being out just doing some very novice kind of landscaping around the yard. But as long as I was in the soil and I was tending to all the plants that I had on the porch and around the porch, I never wanted to go in the house. I would be sweating buckets. Didn't want to eat. I didn't want to go pee. I did not want to leave that space. It was just, I don't know what it was about it, but I knew that was turning my life around in that way, because I feel like it was just a few years after that when I started the podcast.
See, I would like to be like Jody Mama, in my yard with a nigga in the back, doing all this shit, and I'm just sitting there drinking my wine, right? But I live in a high rise, so how do I have a garden on my patio that a nigga could at least water? You know what I'm saying?
Setup. I've seen it. It's like a little, not a wall, but you can have little cups around it and grow
We got a lot of options.
Just put cups on the ground.
It's like a hydroponic setup.
Yes.
Oh, there's so many. We do have a lot of options. I myself, I don't have a yard right now. I have a balcony too. So I'm out here trying to make it work just as well. And so I would say, you got to do your assessment of what's going on with the light. Because if you're on the wrong side of the building.
I am. So that there's not a lot of sun coming. And I'm on 24, so I'm up pretty high.
You're really up there.
Yeah, I'm really up there. So that's
we
another.
We don't have to talk offline about that, but I would be happy to give you specific tips on your situation. But as you can imagine, it varies from situation to situation.
Can weed grow up that high?
Can we? I don't see why not.
Hydro.
Yes.
No, weed is also, or cannabis or whatever, it's on my bucket list of things to grow, because what I understand about it before having given it an earnest attempt is that it has very specific conditions.
Right.
It's easy to fuck it up, and I don't want to do that. I've maybe dabbled
You smoke?
in the past. I'm an enthusiast, absolutely. I love
Where do you
plants.
even get seeds? Because when
plants.
I buy wherever I get mine from,
Everything
ain't no
GMO.
seeds in it.
You can't get seeds nowhere for your fruit, for your weed.
Disclaimer, because we got to say this, because I feel like I done said enough to have somebody knocking on my door later.
That shit's
Do
legal,
it where
man.
it's legal. Wherever, if you in a legal place, then you got access to the seeds. You know what I'm saying? Ask around. They're not hard to find. They're seeds. Yeah.
If you give me some weed with seeds in it,
Yeah.
I'm gonna feel like you owe me money back.
That was how Well, in my experience, since I've started with growing and everything, if I was to allegedly have got some seeds in the situation, then I might have tried to sprout them, and I had success with that, with some of them. Yeah, I encourage it. By all means. Don't get mad, just go plant it. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise.
I'll be like, bruh, what is this? What is this, my boy?
Okay, let's get it right. Refund, exchange, whatever we got to do.
All right, so if I go home right now and I buy a plant,
Yes.
what plant do you feel like that can go in my house that I could absolutely not kill?
The snake plant. Everybody know that. Yes. Well, everybody
like
don't
the
know that.
hanging
You
ones?
asking me. What's that?
Like the hanging.
Ooh, that's another option. There's a lot of plants that do that. The vining plants is what we call
What's
them.
the snake plant? That's what I'm trying to-
Pothos is what that is. A lot of people associate that with their grandmothers or with the mall, because those are very popular in the mall. And when you think about it, this is how I approached it. Once again, going back to my intuitive beginnings with figuring out how to take care of some houseplants, I started it with houseplants in Florida, right? And so what I was doing was I was observing the plants. A lot of the plants that we keep in our house in Florida, they just everywhere. They in people's yard. And so I'm observing where they're growing. Are they growing in the shade, or are they growing where the sun is like touching them all day? We call that full sun. And so if I noticed that a plant was thriving in full sun, then I would know that I could bring that in my yard and I could put it in full sun. So when you see those plants in the mall, you can take that cue to know that these plants can grow in the house as long as there's reasonable light coming through. Does that make sense?
Right. Yes.
That was the logic that I employed to figure out, okay. And that's so I share that with people so you can kind of take note and pay attention, so you know, okay, well, if I see it growing like this, then maybe I can grow it in my house. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fair. I feel like I don't get a lot of natural sunlight in my...
And you can supplement. You can get grow lights. That's the thing. It's on,
I'm gonna try again.
the website.
I feel
where
motivated
people buy
to try
stuff.
again.
Please do.
You want to try with the weed?
Whatever you want to do. I'm going to put it to you like this. You need to activate your green thumb. And you
I
need
want
to
to try to
have...
grow some shrooms, honestly.
Yeah, you
I
need
was
to have
watching
that
YouTube
moment.
about it just recently.
Like mushrooms or shrooms?
Shrooms, magic shrooms. I want to grow my own, because I feel
never
like
thought
I've
about
tried
that.
some from
Yeah.
other people, but I don't know what is this?
For real.
Did you feel anything?
I cried the last time.
Oh.
Like, I had a lot of shit on my fucking mind.
No, that one time you called me and you said you had
Did you remember the picture of
find
my
out.
foot? The shrooms had my feet like stuck like this for like an hour.
Really? Oh, Lord.
The first time I did them.
Okay.
Yeah, but the second time, well, I would say the third time. Yeah, it made me real emotional. So I'm like, man, I need the first one. Because I was meditating, chilling.
See, I tried that shit one time. I ain't doing that no more.
I had some
was
chocolates. Yeah, I had some chocolates one time, but I don't feel like anything happened. I think I let them ride a little too long because they
You gotta
sat
add
for-
weed.
No, I was in there.
Add weed.
I was listening to classical music. I don't never listen to that. I was listening to classical music, and I was looking at a painting, and I was like zooming in the painting, like to the and I was like, oh, that's an island right there. It was nothing. It was like an abstract painting, but I had decided that it was an actual place in another dimension.
Shame.
That's what happened. Yeah, I wish I could speak from experience like y'all, but what I've heard from other people's experience is that it depends on where your emotional and your mindset is at the time that you take them, because no trip is going to be the same.
Right.
So if you have something that you need to deal with, then you might not have a good trip.
So wait, is ayahuasca another plant, or is that like
That's
something
a cactus.
man-made?
I don't know enough about that.
We
one
going to
speak
Peru.
on it.
We gonna do that.
Yeah.
We talking too much about drugs. Let's get back to tomatoes.
Well, let's
and
get
shit.
back to that. Yeah. Because I am not the expert on all the plants. I'm certainly not the expert on the psychedelics. So I'm gonna tell y'all what I know, and what I don't know, I will let you. I don't know that.
That's
y'all.
what I'm doing for my Hort girl summer. I'm definitely doing some ayahuasca.
Yes.
This summer, Peru, Costa Rica, someplace.
Yeah.
It's gonna be done.
When you go, or actually before you go, it'll probably be easier. Look into what the botanical garden scene is like out there. Find a garden to go to. There's really great gardens in the United States. I've been to a lot of them, from sea to shining sea.
Ayahuasca is illegal a lot of places.
It's illegal?
Yes.
Illegal or legal?
Illegal.
Okay, well that's not.
You gotta go
we're gonna
someplace
have to
and
be very
actually do
careful.
it with a shaman.
I've
you
heard
do-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talking about.
I think
drugs again.
someplace in
love it.
California does
back to
it.
drugs.
I'm not sure though.
You said you think it's legal in California?
There's somewhere in California where you can go with a shaman and do ayahuasca.
What if you became the shaman? Maybe.
Look, I'd be too
You ready to
stressed
go on
out to
that
help
journey?
other people with their shit.
You might
okay?
could do it. You never know. You got to challenge yourself. But
in your garden, do you have vegetables, or is it just like pretty plants, or do you have like, on your patio where you?
right now, I just moved just a few months ago, and I had been through a transitional period. I'm in this reconstruction phase of my life.
You're regrowing?
Absolutely, yeah, because life was lifing, divorce was happening, my family got really shook up as a result of that. And I know on a show like this, I don't have to explain that, getting on the other side of separation, which ultimately became divorce, that was very rough. That was very challenging, and I pretty much had to start over. And starting the podcast, Black in the Garden, that was a part of it. I was already interested in plants, and I knew that I was a good communicator and I'd be good at podcasting. I was an avid podcast listener. And so I was like, this is the time to start it. And so that definitely was a big part of this, new growth for me. So I'm saying all that to say that in that transitional and reconstruction phase, we finally got stabilized enough to where, I had my homegirl keeping my plants for the last year. She just brought them back a month ago. So I have the house plants that I have right now.
Not plant sitting.
Yes, plants, that's the thing. Oh, and people and another way to get money too.
And beat up if you let my shit die.
Oh.
You don't want me to sit your plant.
Oh my God.
You gonna get a funeral video.
That's so funny that y'all mentioned that, because she was very emphatic when she picked up the plant. She was like, I can't guarantee that all of them will be returned to you. And that did end up being true. But I had to reassure her, it's okay. I'm going through what I'm going through right now. And I care enough about these plants to have you take care of them.
Right.
But also, what I'm dealing with and getting to the other side of it is way more important than if these plants survive or not. Okay, I gotta survive. I gotta take care of me first.
Right.
And so she did pretty well, but that's an interesting point, because it could have fucked up a friendship. I was a little bit sad about, one of the plants that was my favorite. I didn't get it back. It didn't make it. She left it outside during the frost and then it died. But, that made our friendship stronger.
Not your voice shaking.
So look, all right, we talk relationships, so I'm about to get in your business a little bit.
That's fine.
So I know you said you were divorced. Do you feel like pandemic ruin your marriage? Because I feel like a lot of people were like, either their marriage got stronger or dissolved during the pandemic.
No, narcissism ruined my marriage.
Okay.
Let's talk about it.
I did the best that I could do, not even saying that I was perfect, but in some of the things that I can recall from my experience in that marriage, first and foremost, because I had to get really real with myself, especially as it ended, and be like, yo, why did I even do this in the first place?
Ooh.
I believe I got married when I was about 27, and full transparency, my thought process was, oh, you about to be 30, soon enough. I was a single mother at that time when I got married, so it was like, okay, let me get a husband. Okay, we got married really fast, which I did not know until long after that was a fucking red flag. Okay, you know, rushing into the love bombing and all that stuff. So yeah, I came into it and I very much was like, this is what I feel like I should do right now. I want to be somebody's wife. I want to get chose. And that was like as deep as it went. I mean, of course I like the guy, but it was more so like, look at me, I got chose, I'm married. I remember I started this silly ass
Not a
Facebook
pick me.
group. Yeah, I was a pick me. Yes, for sure. Not no more. I have been delivered. But I started a Facebook group and I was very adamant about it only being married Black women in the group.
Wow.
Like you could not be in the group if you was like shacking up or whatever. I was silly, but
That's mean.
I was silly. I have evolved and like it's telling though, because we all know women who operate in that way, and that's superficial as fuck. And so, as you can imagine, that did not really lead to there being a deep substance in the meat of the core of that relationship. So, yeah, I would rather be fully honest and transparent, especially about something like that I experienced. If I know that somebody could potentially hear this and stop themselves in their tracks from going down that path. Because
Would you get married again?
not right now.
Yeah.
I would get married again, but it would have to be like under the most positive 1000%. Absolutely. I know that you're not toxic. You've been therapized. You've been healed. I would get married again under very specific circumstances. And one of those circumstances is Unpopular Stance, which is I don't want to live with a nigga.
Ooh.
I do not.
I always say, like, when I get married, I do want my own room and bathroom.
Same.
I want to be able, I know my bed, and my bedroom is going to be the nicest part. So, of course, he's going to sleep in here, but I don't see how the fuck people get married in a one-bedroom
And live
apartment.
together.
I don't want to
trip
share
that
a
nigga
bathroom.
up if he walked past me.
For real. I don't want to share a kitchen.
In the midst of an argument.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just the experience that I had with my marriage. It was like growing up and having to clean the piss around the toilet from my dad.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Slipping and sliding.
And like the way that my mom carried it
In the middle of the night.
dead ass. The way that my mom carried it was very much like, okay, you know, she
They
did
just
what she
do
was
it.
supposed to do, you know, that dutiful, you know, that generation. But for me, I was just like, growing up and me having to do it a lot of the times and then thinking about how do I want that to look when I am in a marriage, I was just like, nah.
What I don't understand is the dick is like a straight line. Typically, it might have a little hook in it. But you need to know your angle. If you got to turn this way to hit the toilet, like, why the fuck is
Sit
it
your
on the
ass
floor?
down and pee.
Lift up the
If you
seat.
can't aim, sit down.
Yeah.
It seems like something they would learn.
It's lazy.
You know?
It's just, I don't
You know?
know. I don't have a penis, so I can't really speak to what that logic is, but y'all could do better. Anybody with a
Why
penis
is
that's
it on
listening.
the floor? That used to
don't-
And it
piss
be
me
getting
off.
sticky.
Pun intended.
It used to make me so upset. Piss me off.
Yeah, and then it would get like that, if you wait too long to clean it up, it would get that really strong kind of ammonia kind of vibe.
What is happening?
Nah.
We went from plants to piss.
Wow, from plants
Talking about
to piss.
relationships.
Yeah. Because we got to get into the range of the experience. You know what I'm saying? The plants is doing what they doing, but life is what's happening while the plants are growing. So that's how I kind of segue into these broader conversations.
Right.
It's all connected. It's all connected.
I saw recently a post on Instagram, and it was saying there's a sixth love language that people don't talk about, which is chaos. Like a lot of people, exactly. So like
I know a lot about that, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So when I heard that, I'm like, man, a lot of people out here don't feel loved unless you cussing their ass out. So they get you up here.
I can speak
and that's
to
the
that.
That's the narcissist.
That's exactly, that is what I was referring to. And I was like, it was a lot because I just realized it. You know how it is. Hindsight is the clearest view. And in looking back over some of the experiences that I had, and I remember sharing an experience about, there was a lot of instability, and that was another thing that was very frustrating for me, especially after I started getting really into plants. We moved a lot. There was a lot of instability, like financially. And so I just want to have a garden. You got to be stable for that shit. Like you literally, when they say settle down, put down some roots, I'm literally like trying to put these roots down, and we're moving so much, and I'm just like, yo, what the fuck? And then I remember sharing it with someone, a woman who I didn't even know her that well, but I shared one example of how we were in a really good position, and I was making good money, and he had just started a job, and then somehow, like, it just happened so fast where he ended up being unemployed again. And it seemed like it was intentional. And so the person who I was talking to, she was like, they were pulling the rug from under themselves because for that love language of chaos, just speaking to that, she was saying that some people, they don't feel comfortable when things are going well.
Right.
They need to sabotage it so that they can feel, so that they know where the swerve is gonna be, rather than anticipating that they're gonna get busted in the face by life. And that's such a scarcity, like this, it's the mindset there is like, oh my goodness, but yeah, it wasn't fun. So on the other side of it, in the, you know how they say you do bad by yourself, in that reconstruction that I was indicating, that was me doing bad by myself, but I enjoyed it because I was just like, I ain't nobody to blame but me, and I get to have full autonomy, and I get to be the captain and the navigator of this ship, and I got it right, you know. Black in the Garden was happening the whole time, although whatever might have been happening for me personally, I'm extremely resilient, you know, just like these plants out here. Well, not your plants, because they struggling. But yeah, and just being as resilient as I know that I am, I was just like, I get through this. And the podcast is just steadily, there's always been opportunities coming from it to the point where now I'm full-time at it, and it sustains me and my kids.
That's great. So
yeah, I have 3 kids.
Oh, okay.
So let's talk this coloring book, because I saw that you sold a lot of
I was supposed to get one in Memphis,
I got you. They right here. We got them.
Okay.
Yes.
So what made you like decide, hey, I'm gonna create a coloring book and I'm gonna sell it?
Yes, I love that question so much because there's a lot of parts to that. So it's the Black in the Garden coloring experience, right? And it's the experience, it is a book, obviously, but I call it the experience because every page that features a person, an illustration of a person that you can color, is a guest that has been on the show. So early in the podcast, as things were coming together, like I just mentioned, like things were going well with that. It's like every corner that I turned, somebody was there to like help me move it forward. And one of those people was Paula Champagne, who is the illustrator that has that branded Black in the Garden as you see it, and you know, like that really cute illustration of the podcast logo. And she illustrated my guests for like 2 years. Every guest that I had on the show was a cute little illustration that's a podcast cover. And so you look on my Instagram, you can see all those pictures, and I just did these Valentine grams featuring those illustrations. But I was looking at them and I was like, oh, maybe we do a calendar with these. Because, you know, podcasting, we trying to make money.
Right.
We need some merch, okay? Right. And yeah, we did t-shirts. Yeah, we did stickers or whatever. But I'm a think out of the box kind of girl. So I was like, and I'm also very much like a marketing nerd. So I'm thinking of like, how do we get more visibility and brand recognition from this. And when I realized, okay, what if you just convert the illustrations into coloring pages, then I knew that I had to do that. And that was also low-key inspired by the podcast that my kids listen to, because my kids listen to podcasts as well. They listen to this show called Circle Round, and I'll admit, sometimes I'm a lazy mom. I don't read them a bedtime story, but I'll be like, y'all lay down and y'all listen to y'all podcast, okay?
And take this melatonin.
No.
Harriet Tubman.
Face ass.
That was her, not me. That's what she do with her children when she
Get
have
your Harriet Tubman snack before
Lord,
bed.
not the Harriet Tubman snack. I would listen to... I listen to it with them. Sometimes we listen to it when we're taking a road trip or something like that. And I noticed that they mentioned that they had coloring pages for some of the stories because it's like fairy tales. And so I was just like, that seed was planted like probably years before I even thought of the coloring experience. But yeah, it's called the coloring experience because everybody that is in there has been a guest. So I was like, yo, what it looked like when you got the coloring book and you coloring the person while you listening to them talk. That's an experience. And so that's the marketing aspect of it and the listener engagement aspect of it, where it's like, I want to bring y'all all the way into this world with me, soil cousins. But also there's the representation aspect. It is an adult coloring book, but coloring books by default are very appealing to children. And so the other thing I know about children, especially Black children, as I recall what it was like for me, when I think about, damn, what would it have looked like if it was somebody like me? Somebody like, you know, cute and fun and charismatic like me that came into my classroom or my after school program or whatever, telling me how cool it would be to do this plant stuff. So I think about it like that, and I think about how that equates to children not seeing themselves in this. And I'm like, yo, I know a coloring book is not gonna change the world and it's not gonna necessarily make the child that is coloring in it wanna be a botanist or whatever, but at least they will see, oh, this is Black people with plants. There's this lady on the cover like hugging a fern, you know? So that's another part of it too, is I want the kids to get inspired, to get into, at least plants, but absolutely a plant career field, because it's dominated by white people and it's a lot of money in it, and that's good for our economic development, of course, but there's so many benefits to being, you know, involved with plants and nature because, you know, wellness and peace and all of that good stuff. Yeah,
speaking of the kids, like one of the things, like one of my goals in life, I would like to build a school, right? Because most schools, hospitals, prisons, they look alike. So what if you had a dome-like school, open, kids inside, they can actually grow.
Yeah.
With
I think
light.
Kanye just did that in LA.
He don't have, in a dome?
He didn't do that.
And they had them all in black and shit.
No,
that's
them
not the
niggas
same
is not in
thing.
a dome, okay?
She tried to make Hort.
What's Kanye's school? Donda. No, this ain't Donda school. This
No, he's
AJ
not doing
school.
that. No, he didn't do no dome.
But yeah, because by the time kids get out of school, you're missing sunlight. You know what I'm saying? So you're not getting the shit you need to actually grow properly like human beings.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So why not have like the kids in like a just sunlight coming in? Plants in there, the kids. I want that.
I love that. I mean, shout out to you for thinking in that way. I call that visionary thinking.
Kanye shit.
Come on
It
now.
sounds a little culty.
I think about the dome.
Kanye was teaching real shit at his school. It was not culty.
It closed down? Is it not open anymore?
I don't think so. Maybe
Was
because
there
he lost
something-
funding.
They had like 1 year of school?
with the money. But was there anything
hating on
related to
Kanye.
gardening in that school? Possibly. I don't know really anything about the school. I just heard that it may have closed, or there was scandal. You know, there's always scandal attached to him.
Well, let me ask you this.
What?
We do a segment called Dumb Bitch Story, and you done heard the show, so I think you've heard it.
Ooh,
So
child.
we need you to share. Come on, girl, tell us a story where you got played.
Wow. And I knew this moment was coming, and I just, because wow.
You dating right now?
I'm not dating right now. I tried to dip my toe in, but I was very unimpressed, and I just took it right back out. I was just like, what is this? I don't know y'all. And it has everything to do with the fact that I've fully gotten into this era of my life where I am an entrepreneur. And I had to, back in 2020, when I was just starting to feel that way, and I was trying to figure out like what, just talking to people and recognizing that there was a big disconnect, and it was between anybody I tried to talk to. And I Googled it, and I was like, how do you date as an entrepreneur? And that helped a lot, because it was indicating it's a different way of operating. The person that you're trying to build with, they have to understand the way that lifestyle works, because it's a way of life. And so I was just like, nah, I can't fool with y'all. Y'all are silly. And the odds didn't feel like they was in my favor. So no, I'm not interested in dating. And I feel like the taste for dick, not dick so much. Well, maybe sometimes, a lot of times actually.
It's an acquired taste.
The taste for wanting to have a man all the time has been really taken out of my mouth. And I'm very much focused on building the business, scaling the business, because that's really important to me. And any time I've just tried to, let me see what you're talking about, boy. They don't be talking about nothing.
You try to run away from the dumb bitch story. Don't do that.
I'm not running away from the dumb bitch story.
My bad.
Y'all helped me go on the tangent. Y'all went with me. Okay, so what's the dumb bitch story? Help me narrow it down. I have a lot.
Okay.
Oh my God, I have so many.
The time that you felt most played, like, I cannot believe this man just did that to me.
God. All right, let's get into it.
That I allowed this man to do this to me.
Let's get into it. I've never said this on a recording. I got ghosted one time, okay? I mentioned to y'all before we got started, in my past life, I was a trucker. And I initially began trucking when I was very young and hot at the age of 21, okay? Thoughting out in these streets.
So you was a trucker, you saying like you was driving an 18-wheeler?
I was driving an 18-wheeler. That was my first foray into like a professional grown-up job, okay? A whole way of life, once again. And I remember there was someone who I was like my situationship. They was top notch. It was so good. And so we was both trucking. And so we
fucking.
Thought in the trucking.
Hallelujah.
Trucking and fucking.
So we would find each other. Yes, all those things. We would.
Thought you were driving lot lizard.
What you know about lot lizard? Oh my God. I got a story. I want to start a podcast on that. That's another time. Stories for another time. That's gonna be a good one. But I remember me and him, we would keep in contact with each other regularly enough so that we knew where we was gonna be at, because you got to coordinate. You can't, not just pulling up at the house. It's like, oh, you finna be in Charlotte? Okay, boom. I'll be there tomorrow. You still gonna be there. We'll meet somewhere along the way.
Y'all was fucking in the truck?
Yes, we fucked in like at least 6 different states. It was never bad. But I remember it was his birthday. He had like 3 baby mamas, by the way. I remember his birthday was coming up. I was in Texas. He lived in Memphis. And I remember driving up from like Dallas to Memphis, like nonstop, like just, I stopped maybe once to get fuel and to pee, but I knew that it was his birthday. I was pulling up and we was gonna do what we do. I got there. I let him know I was there. I didn't hear from him. I was ghosted.
Damn, you drove with a diaper on.
Oh my God. Yeah, but the dumb bitch part about it was, so that happened. I remember, like, I really did cry that night. You know, you can imagine.
Did you have a load going there at least, bitch? You
Did
just
I have
driving.
a load going there?
Did you have a load coming back?
I feel like I did have a load going there, because that was the only way I could justify making that long of a trip like that.
Right, okay.
So it worked out. You know, I otherwise would not have driven that far in that short amount of time. It wasn't necessary. I had more time to get it delivered. But the dumb bitch part was, after that, like, I was young, you know, I was still figuring shit out, but I remember like driving and just continue with the job. But I was like really hurt. And every truck that passed, I'm looking like, is that this thing? You know, like, cause I knew what his truck looked like. And I'm just looking in every truck for months. I don't remember how long this went. But then I pulled up one day. I remember I had what we call a reefer, a refrigerated truck. And so I remember I was somewhere in Tennessee. I pulled up to a yogurt factory to get a load of yogurt. And I remember going in, talking to whoever I talked to, getting the papers, getting ready to go get loaded. I look up and there he go. And I was just like, okay, we found each other again. We fucked that night.
You fucked him again?
Yes, that was the dumb bitch part, because I have no business.
What did he say why he went missing?
He really didn't have to say much of anything.
You was just happy to see him again.
I was just happy to see him. I was like, so of course, naturally, the first question, where you was at, what happened? Oh yeah, so like my daughter had dropped the phone in the toilet or whatever, and then I lost all my contacts. That's what I remember him saying. And I also remember, and this is just adding layers to the dumb bitchness of it all, is I remember.
It's an illness, it's a sickness.
I remember he kind of smirked, and I was just like, something registered in my mind like, damn, he really think I'm stupid. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because the thing is, if for any dumb bitch story that I have, it was always, I knew what I was doing. I knew I was being dumb. Like, I knew that you should not operate like this. Mm-hmm. But still, I proceeded. So,
well, you ain't the only one, and you ain't the first or the last.
That's it.
On the truck now. On the truck.
I ain't fuck on the truck, but I mean, you was driving the truck, so you was getting paid. At least you got paid.
Yeah, period. So there was, there's a bed for those of that are not familiar with how that works. Sure, you could always go get a hotel. But I stayed in the truck. I'm saving my money. I'm not out here to spend all my money while I'm on the road. Right. That stuff adds up. So yeah, there's a bunk and there's 2 beds in there. So yeah, we was getting it in. He was a great time.
So the next time you fucked him, that was the last time?
It might have been one more time after that. Yeah. But
I feel like she kept fucking his ass for another year.
It just kind of fell
still
off.
Fucking him.
No, I don't even know where he at. I kind of wish I knew though, but I don't.
They had Facebook, everybody on there.
I feel like the last time I saw him was like 2005 or something. So it was a long time ago.
Tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find your coloring book, drop everything that you're doing.
Right here. No, you can find me. Go to blkinthegarden.com. That is BLK, because something happened with the other domain. Don't fault me for that. But that is my website, and that will link you to, all the socials and stuff. But the main social media platform that I use is Instagram. And you can find me there with my handle, Black in the Garden. And yeah, I do the Twitter and all that other kind of stuff. I'm scared of TikTok, y'all, but I'll figure that out. It's so intimidating, but it's also so fun. Yeah. But yeah, you can find me there. And I've guested on a bunch of other shows and all that other good stuff. But if you want to support me, absolutely, by all means, get the Black in the Garden coloring experience and whatever else I have to offer on the website, because I gotta feed these kids, okay? And I need to get me some more plants, and I need to get a house so I can have me a whole yard, and I can bring you over there and
get your Jody experience,
hog wrestle or whatever. Yeah, we deserve this.
Yeah. We're gonna weed at your house.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we gonna grow weed at your house, girl.
See, I mean,
just like it's both of ours.
We just smoke it.
Allegedly. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Colah.
Y'all are so dope. Thank you for having me.
I done dropped this shit off. All right, y'all, listen. So if you enjoyed this episode, please tune in every Thursday on your iHeartRadio app or wherever the fuck you get your podcast at. It's your co-host, AJ Holiday 2.0. Y'all follow me on Instagram. What's up, Tam?
And it's me, TamBam. I love y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in again. Follow me on Instagram, official TamBam. Remember, speak now and
never hold your motherfucking peace.
Period.
This is.
Bye.